Nothing beats a great holiday. But what if you could celebrate a holiday twice? Kinda like time travel. Today that's the goal as we take a journey from Hong Kong to San Francisco in order to celebrate New Year's Eve twice. After flying in from Vietnam, I had a day in Hong Kong, where I was when the clock hit midnight. Then I got on my flight home to San Francisco with the goal of getting home before the clock struck midnight there. All thanks to a little geographical quirk known as the International Dateline. It's also the first time I've flown Cathay Pacific's business class, which was a great surprise since I originally planned to fly in economy, but was able to score a deal on an upgrade, so it also gives us a great opportunity to cover that, albeit brief since it's the background topic, but there's going to be timestamps below so you can hunt for whatever specific items you might be looking for. Welcome to Hong Kong's International Airport Terminal 1, which is currently the only terminal as Terminal 2 is still under construction, but the holiday decorations are still in full force, starting with the lights and door decor at the curb. Then once you get inside, there's plenty more lights, but they've also turned those boring posts into nutcrackers and lined the walkways with garland. Makes the already nice terminal even more nice, plus with the backdrop of the Hong Kong hills through the giant windows in the back. The business class check-in line was empty just before sunset as we kinda split the two biggest departure banks of the day. And then the back of the terminal has security and immigration. No priority lanes for business class, but it only took about 15 minutes to get through both steps anyway, where we get dumped into the restaurant and shopping hub. But there's also a sky garden, as they call it. Sounds nice, but it really just becomes a smoker's terrace. The airport here in Hong Kong has two major concourses and the corridor that connects them. And then is the 3 lounges accessible to premium passengers. Before heading down the long hallway, there's a lounge on either side. The first is known as the Wing, which has business and first class portions to it. We covered the first one last year, but the business class one's a bit bigger. This is the oldest of the 3 lounges, opening roughly when the airport replaced Kai Tak in the late 90s. The lounge has a bar and buffet-style dining on either side of the seating area. Then, slightly separated from that is a noodle bar. There's chefs preparing a selection of Cathay's signature noodle bowls and some refreshments to go with it. But there's also the coffee loft, as it's known, which is basically a cafe. They've got their own barista to prepare coffees and teas or pastries. Perhaps the biggest bummer is that the airport has such great views, but because the lounge is offset from the windows, it doesn't provide the best views or pictures. The other lounge in this concourse is known as the Deck, which is the newest of the 3 lounges, and has one space for first and business class passengers combined. It's definitely smaller, but it's also in a part of the airport where only a couple flights operate and less oneworld partners. Still some refreshments and cozy places to relax, plus this lounge has their own noodle bar, as that's become a signature of Cathay Pacific, being offered in their few lounges around the globe as well, like London and San Francisco. There's spaces to dine and spaces to rest, but just like the other lounge, it's still offset from the windows, so there's plenty of natural light, but not the best views. Then the final lounge is down the hallway. This one is known as the Pier, and also has a separated first and business class lounge. This one is downstairs, but I think it uses the space much better than the other two. Basically one long hallway with each room getting progressively quieter, it seems. The first room is the food hall with buffet and chefs and tables with a whole bunch of chatter. The next room is the bar where the seats are set up more intimately and with a bartender to mix something up for you. The next room, of course, is the noodle bar. If you haven't realized it yet, Cathay and noodles are a match made in heaven. Then the last room is the tea house. This room is almost completely silent with a tea selection and pastries to take to your much more private seating. Past that is the shower reception and then some beds and chairs with blankets if you need the sleep, or just quiet. There is another parallel hallway to that one, although it's just seating. I think it's just so that they can maintain their desired ambience in each separate room. If you got oneworld status or you're flying in business class, what lounge would you choose to spend your time in though? The Wing, the Deck, or the Pier? If you aren't visiting a lounge in Hong Kong, at least there's great views out of every window. There's also the Sky Bridge, which goes out to one of the satellite concourses, but you can also just go up there and look around. Not only does it offer great panoramic views of the airport and scenery, but it has a glass floor near the edge where you can watch the planes taxi below you. Hong Kong is the 13th busiest airport in the world, so there's no shortage of aircraft to spot, but over half the traffic belongs to Cathay Pacific. By the way, the airline's name coming from Cathay, an ancient word referring to China meaning prosperous country, roughly, and Pacific due to their goals of transporting the culture across the Pacific Ocean. As for the livery, the Cathay logo features the brush wing, as they call it, which was introduced in the 90s and meant to resemble a bird in flight. It's been tweaked a couple times since then, but the look of the brush wing remains more or less the same. And while there's no solid evidence I can find for the green color, the color green in Hong Kong represents the so-called Lion Rock spirit, which led the industry, harmony, and growth that propelled Hong Kong out of poverty after its independence. It's nothing compared to how it looked on the 747 back in the day, but still one of the world's most recognizable liveries. After spending some time in the lounge, we were closing in on midnight, meaning I had to find where the party was at. 10 minutes before the new year struck, I was roaming the corridors looking for a TV, or a crowd of people, or some sort of commotion, but nothing. I mean, every single shop was shuttered, TVs were off. I mean, this was the legit sound from around the terminal with 5 minutes left in 2024. Somewhat defeated, I figured I'd go to my gate and have a party of my own. Gate 41 is ours for San Francisco. There was a security check for all passengers, but with under 2 minutes to go until midnight, I opted to wait and set up a temporary stand for my computer outside the boundary and watched the time tick away on the status board until eventually we hit our countdown for the final 10 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I guess that's it. No fanfare, no cheering, no counting. I couldn't even hear a single person remarking that it was a brand new year. Through the security check, we were asked a series of questions only done on US flights, and then we got a sticker for the passport. They queued up the cabin classes in their own lines, which I love since it all but eliminates gate lice. Cathay Pacific uses the A350-900 to San Francisco. These aircraft have no first class, but do sport 3 other classes with 280 total seats, 38 of which are business class. It honestly surprises me a bit as San Francisco operates with the aircraft at 98% full, at least as of this past summer, but Cathay uses their lowest premium capacity aircraft. They do fly it 3 times daily, every day, but United also flies this route twice daily, totaling 5 daily flights between Hong Kong and San Francisco, except the United's aircraft have many more premium seats. Looking at the seat 18A, where we'll spend the next 11 hours, the seat cushions are the most comfortable I can remember, honestly. There's an armrest below the remote and seat controls, and then there's a large counter with some enclosed storage in the cubby, with plugs, mirror, and pocket. There's more enclosed storage below the counter. This one's almost big enough to fit an entire backpack, but when closed, it makes a continuous cushion along the side, something not too common but very much appreciated, especially come bedtime. The seat back has the TV, which swivels out, and then the coat hook and literature pocket, and then is an armrest along the aisle that raises up. For amenities, we got water and either juice or champagne, hot towels, and noise-canceling headphones. Come bedtime, there was slippers and then a small but firm pillow and a pouch of bedding consisting of a mattress pad and comforter. And lastly was an amenity kit containing some fairly normal amenities. Don't worry, just because you missed out on the famous double New Year's this year doesn't mean you can't try it again later. I was actually going to do this last year, but the money didn't work out, so I made it a point to try again this year. These flights are all possible because of the international dateline, a far from straight line through the Pacific from north to south, where the first time zone reaches the last. When flying from the US to Asia, you often arrive 2 days later on a red-eye. But on the eastbound flights, you hit that dateline and the clock goes back 24 hours. Because of this, if the timing is right, you can celebrate New Year's twice. Timing, by the way, is the key there. Obviously, there's a million flights from Asia to North America, but not all of them time out as needed. Cathay Pacific has the most opportunities for this with 3 choices. Leaving after midnight from Hong Kong are flights to San Francisco, Los Angeles, and Vancouver. Any of these flights should get you in before New Year's. There's also a collection of Pacific Island flights like Samoa to American Samoa, but perhaps the most famous one is probably United Flight 200 from their Guam hub to Honolulu. It's on a 777-300, and because it's much shorter, the times are much better, departing around 7:30 a.m. and arriving at 6:30 p.m. the previous day. That's one that people have seeked out previously, but I was already in Asia and wanted to try out Cathay anyway, so it all worked out. We were given two menus for the flight, one for food and one for drinks. Not only a great collection of wines, but Cathay and some other East Asian carriers have extensive collections of teas and coffees as well. We also get two, but kind of three meals. There's a major dinner right after departure with a proper 3 courses and 6 choices for the main course. Then is a few mid-flight snack options, ending with a breakfast before our 9 p.m. landing. Honestly, I was mostly impressed with the stitching on the seam instead of just staples. They also have a card to order breakfast on so that they can collect that while everyone's asleep and have it ready for you when you wake up. For the dinner service, after laying down the tablecloth, they brought the food we ordered before departure. The main course I chose was the Hong Kong specialty dish, which was a clay pot rice with abalone, Chinese sausage, and a pork patty. Similar to what I had on China Airlines, and still a super tasty dish. It came with 2 bread choices, pre-selected, and then a choice of drink, and I chose their signature drink, the Cloud 9, with vodka, Cointreau, Sprite, and lemon juice. I also loved the engraved Cathay silverware. Cathay Pacific is known to be one of the world's best airlines, and dining is one of the biggest factors in that, and Cathay has more than covered it. For dessert, they came through with a choice of different truffles, and then the menu items, so I got the hazelnut turtle along with a ginger milk pudding and the Hong Kong milk tea. Now it's time for bed, however. I figure I'll get some sleep, and when I wake up, it'll be yesterday. The seat reclines to become my own little time machine. Once reclined, to make it better, we can raise the armrest and an extra bit of cushion along the side. Basically, every possible square inch of the seat has cushion for the biggest possible bed. The mattress pad isn't too thick, but it covers the whole seat, which eliminates the cracks. But then the pillow takes up that whole space. The true winner is the comforter, which could be straight off a hotel bed. I mean, it's a real comforter. Although with no overhead air vents, it was a bit hot for that. There's plenty of space for your feet in these seats. We've seen herringbone seats before, but this is probably the best bed made from a herringbone style. It just still lacks a bit of privacy that I'd like to see to really perfect it. The last thing before going to sleep was filling out the breakfast order, and then hanging it on the coat hook as instructed, and then it was time for bed. When I woke up, it was a couple hours later, and only because the sun was beginning to rise as the flight would speed run the daytime. I watched a bit of the sunrise as I love to look at that A350 winglet in the sun, but then I went back to sleep. When I woke up later, it was yesterday. It was officially last year. I slept backwards into 2024, where it was the afternoon and a few hours from San Francisco, which was also a good time to enjoy some of those mid-flight snacks. The burger sounded great like I had with Starlux and China Airlines, but that was just the American in me showing. Instead, I went with the 2 Hong Kong signature choices, the shrimp wonton noodle soup and Hong Kong egg tart. both being 110% amazing, and even better with a glass of oolong tea. I do love A350 lavatories since they can be a bit bigger since the cabin's a bit bigger. Cathay also offers us a few bonus amenities in here, but the best amenity is right behind the toilet, where you can raise the window shade and enjoy some nice natural light or view while you're using the restroom. The TV has a great homepage, kinda like Finnair, which has the flight info and progress tracker. Movies from around the world and TV shows with a collection of episodes, but not full seasons. There's a million items in the entertainment system, although I admittedly found it somewhat difficult to sift through and find things. So when you do find something you like, favorite it, so it's easier to find later on. I do give them props for having live TV, and especially the outside cameras. They do offer Wi-Fi on their flights, and for business class passengers, it's 100% free, otherwise it's $20. The only issue? I couldn't, for the life of me, get it to work on my phone, on either flight. At least my laptop worked well enough, although the speeds were slow. Now nothing hits quite like a 7 p.m. breakfast, so let's eat up. They collected the breakfast orders while we were sleeping, and then the lights were raised about 2 hours from home and tablecloths were passed out along with hot towels. I decided to go with the Chinese breakfast option, which included seasonal fruit that wasn't quite ripe, along with a coffee. And then the main course was a dim sum selection, which I love to see, and a beef and mushroom congee, basically a porridge with not a ton of flavor, hence why it usually comes with more toppings. Dinner was definitely the better meal, but this wasn't bad, and I really appreciated the order card, which I've previously only seen on Swiss. Cathay Pacific has actually announced a brand new business class known as the Aria Suite. It's being put in select 777s and was inaugurated to Beijing in mid-2024. The main plan is to bring this new business class to the 777X, of which Cathay has placed one of the largest orders. With the 777X being delayed, Cathay has been frustrated as they try to grow their long-haul network. Cathay's load factors have already surpassed pre-COVID levels, and like other carriers, it appears that their premium cabins are selling quite well. San Francisco is the route I'm most familiar with as it's my home airport, and on that route, the times I've looked to book the flight, business class has ended up sold out by the time of departure, and that's just one of 8 North American destinations making up 16 daily departures. Perhaps the most interesting part to me is that about 40% of the passengers were specifically flying point to point and not connecting on either end of the journey, a relatively high number for long-haul routes from the US like this. Of those connecting in Hong Kong, most of them connected to mainland China, the Philippines, and Thailand, which lack direct flights from a lot of Cathay's destinations. So it makes sense why Cathay has invested so much in their North American markets, including adding Cathay Pacific lounges in Vancouver and San Francisco to offer a more flagship experience. I know I look forward to the next step of their business class, even if it might not be at my home airport specifically. I love a good holiday, but some are so nice that you can do it twice. I'm so glad that I was able to finally knock this off my list, but the last step isn't complete until getting to the New Year's Eve party successfully, or I can't actually say that I celebrated New Year's twice. As we make our way there, how do we feel about Cathay's business class? Cathay has won so many awards that it's wild, including the 5th best airline in the world, including the World's Best Economy Award, and World's Cleanest Airline in 2024. This is why I was so excited for this flight, even if I didn't get the business class upgrade. What I will say is that the cabin of the A350 is much nicer than the A330 I flew in my first segment. The best part of the seat definitely being the bed, where I could have slept the entire flight without an alarm set. The dining is top tier, and I love the local dishes available with every course. What will always seal the deal for me, however, is the lounges. Cathay Pacific's lounges don't get the awards I feel they deserve, especially the pier. The GM of Cathay's product at the time said he wanted it to feel like you were at home in your living room, and he succeeded. Extremely comfortable and relaxing with so many amenities that even when I've had nearly 10-hour layovers, I still didn't get bored and was actually kind of sad to have to board my flight. The thing that surprises me most is that Cathay uses the A350-900 to San Francisco. Granted, they do it at 3 times per day, but I'd imagine they'd want to put a plane with more capacity on this route. At least more premium capacity. Or even the 777s with first class that are rare outside of London, Los Angeles, and New York, their other premium destinations. That's all for now because check out the clock. It's about to be midnight, meaning that we successfully beat the challenge of celebrating New Year's twice, so I'll sit back and let it speak for itself. And until next Sunday, safe travels. I'll see y'all next time.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, Happy New Year!
Bang!